Let Daddy decide.
Right, we're all in anticipation. All right, this is how do I, right? Uh, this is for our esteemed guest here. How do I go to the next level as a creator performer? And I'm gonna couch it a little bit. When most podcasters, digital media creators gather, we're doing it for fun, right? We're doing it to entertain ourselves. Then at some point you might shift it to do work, and that's where Joe and I have been. We make a professional show. I do all kind of content, but you are a new level where you're doing live events and you're exploring your options. So how did you go from doing it for fun to the level you're playing at now?
A lot of work. So I think first big mistake folks will do is they drop that main gig that they got going on way too early. I'm still working construction. Granted, my hours are starting to drop back a lot at this point, but it wasn't until I was working, with the combined hours between the content creation and the construction, 80, 90 hours a week, and just getting to the point where I was getting burnt out. And I was like, something's got to change. And so I started dropping back. I'm working like 1 day a week now, construction. But it was a commitment because it is work. People have this idea that, you start doing the content creation and work stops. I spend just as much time, if not more time, than I used to work in the construction doing the content creation. Um, and depending on how you go about it, it's a lot of promoting yourself, a lot of behind the scenes, connecting with other content creators. That's huge. If you really want to take it to the next step, at every step I've been at, I've tried to connect with content creators that were my size and content creators that were, twice my size. And you can build off of each other's, audience, each other's branding, and really start to grow that way. That's where my biggest growth has come from, is bouncing off of other creators. Because they're a million plus audience. Probably the majority of them has never heard of me. Mine has probably never heard of them. And so once we start playing together, they benefit from mine, I benefit from theirs, and it's the growth is the ultimate goal, because it's a numbers game. Just like with coming out with your merchandise, stick to something that you're passionate about, because if you don't have the passion, you're not going to hold the audience, and you're not going to stay true to your content. But yeah, it's a lot of work. I'm still learning. I'm still definitely learning, but I study a lot, and ADHD helps.
Did you ever did you ever imagine putting together a cookbook that, I mean, at this point you've sold how many copies?
We're getting damn close to 10,000 copies, and we released in February. I think we're well over 8,000 at this point.
That's
So yeah, I never thought that would
amazing.
happen.
I remember
awesome.
one of your first videos about it, you'd put it on sale, and then you're like, I only order, I think the number was a couple hundred books, like 400 books or something. And
Uh-huh.
I'd only order it, and it's sold out in like overnight. I don't know what and I was like, man, that's
I'm
such a
still
happy
learning
moment. Such a happy moment.
it's like, so I do it all myself. Not myself, my kids help, the wife helps, but within my household, we run StonerGump ourselves. And it's been a lot to learn with, keeping things in stock. The amount of capital you've got to have to rotate between buying your boxes, your books, your shirts, your everything you're doing to try to make it work. Because, especially with what I do, some content creators are different because you can get paid for views. I can't. So that's not the route I can go to make this, a livable wage. I've got to do it, with coming up with cool things people want, collaborations and whatnot. Like with Happiest Hour, we've got that collaboration going right now. And I've got a bunch of others that I'm working on, and I'm reaching out to companies daily, because I want to find cool stuff. If I can find cool stuff I'm passionate about, I can move it right into my content naturally, and show people something cool and help me keep going in this direction I want to go in.
Yeah, your collaboration with Burrow Hemp is really good there, and that's went Goodwell. Yeah, that's a phrase now.
There's speaking of them, there's a lot of things content creators should be aware of, especially when you start blowing up, is to be mindful of the speed at which things will take off. You get hooked up with a company too soon and value yourself too low, you will get stuck. So not a lot of companies will want to, you link up with them at 100,000. Well, when you're at 2 million, they really don't want to renegotiate. They want to keep things the same, even though it shouldn't. I mean, Jack Sparrow, I'm not good with names. Who plays that?
Johnny Depp.
Mm-hmm. Johnny Depp. Right. So Pirates of the Caribbean 1, I believe he made, what was it, like 500,000. Pirates of the Caribbean 2, he made like 10 or 12 million. There's growth involved, and companies don't want to pay for that growth. So you need to be careful with contracts. Make sure you've got somebody looking over them.
Always have an end date, a renew date with everything. Right. We talk about that with ad sponsorships, with any kind of creative partnerships that involve money. Is you have to have. It doesn't matter if you think you're going to be creating together for 10 years. You have to have a time to come back to the table, because growth needs to be renegotiated, but so does loss. Like, hey, hadn't quite worked out the way of things. Instead of just cutting everything loose, let's build together, those kind of things. There has to be a give and flow. And then Random Kid says, got to have contracts that allow for growth instead of getting locked into a flat rate. There's that. You're living the rock and roll lifestyle, sir. It sounds like many rock bands. You go, oh, wow, our first record contract was regrettable. Even Taylor Swift, right? She had to go back and re-record all her own stuff to have any rights to her own stuff. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Right. And that's something is your trademark, and your name. Like, you got to get that stuff in it. The government is so backlogged. It's ridiculous. I think my trademark is still a year or so out from actually being processed, but it's in the works. And so nobody else is going to get it ahead of me. But it's something you need, because these companies, especially once you start working with them and they then have your branding and you start blowing up, well, you got no legal right to your branding until your trademark is through. And you are your brand.
Can't even fall under pending. It doesn't even fall under pending protected.
I don't know. I've been waiting for it to go through so I can bicker with. I'll need to check with my lawyer buddy on that one. But yeah, that's something I've been kicking myself in the butt for. Is StonerGump is my brand. I am StonerGump, and there's companies out there that have my branding and my imagery, and until I have legal reason for them to take it down, they can keep selling StonerGump.
Wow.
Right.
Now, there's another issue with that, similar issue with that. I haven't seen it lately. When I make a comment or something on your video, it'll go, StonerGump liked your video, which is you. I think you go through and like everybody, or not video, liked your comment. You know where I'm going. Then I get a message from a different StonerGump with a whole different symbol, and I already am wise to it. It's like, hey, I've got a financial proposition for you. I've tried to even report that on your behalf for TikTok, and the hoops you got to jump through to say, no, he's a celebrity. And
TikTok doesn't think I am.
And then they don't. Honestly,
I block and report probably 15, 20 accounts daily that are trying to scam people.
Crazy.
And that's not it's 15 to 20 accounts daily. StonerGump 1, StonerGump 01, StonerGump ... official. And they're just trying to scam people. I report every single one of them. They're impersonating me. And I get a response back saying, no, they're not.
Yeah. And that's something you need to be aware of as you gain an audience, as you gain influence. That's going to be a battle. Now, I personally believe you handled it very well. You've just addressed it on your channels, and you've talked about how I will never DM you with financial stuff. You've tackled it, and you've pinned it at the top, and that's almost really all you can do until you have, like you said, a lawyer at your beck and call.
Which that's the reason I changed my name on Facebook, because I am the only person that can get verified as Daniel Gossard, because I have to have an ID that proves I am Daniel Gossard. And so I've been trying to go the route of teaching people that Daniel Gossard and StonerGump are the same person. But on TikTok, until they want to verify me, people ask, well, how do I know it's the real account? None of the fake ones have over 1 million followers. Just look at the followers.
Yeah.
And because I don't want people getting scammed, and I know what's happening. I've been cussed out. It's about once a week. I get a lot of hateful messages from a random person because they got taken advantage of. I feel horrible for it.
Right.
But then I have to remind them, this is the beginning of our conversation. Just look at it. See this right here? This is the beginning of it. We've never talked before. I did not ask you for donations for an orphanage in Africa. Wasn't me.
Those little mushrooms. So random kid asks, do you have dandelion merchandise, like actual dandelions, or is that just a euphemism used here?
I mean, I've got air fresheners that have broccoli on them, actual broccoli chasing an astronaut around.
Yeah. I do love your bumper sticker that was hold on to the grass so you don't fly off the earth. That's a good one.
I should have made that one bigger. I might redo it at some point.
One of the things that we are going to talk about at DragonCon is how you got to the size following you have, talking about a taboo topic on platforms that you don't control. So I want you to think on those, because that's
having a big vocabulary.
Well, that's the 60-minute barrel. Have a big vocabulary. So no, euphemisms. Yeah, but you'll love it. It'll be a good conversation. Joe, do you have any questions about how you go to that next level?
One of my biggest questions, and maybe you're not at this point just yet, I'm not sure, but is and this is such a vanilla question, but what do people who get bigger and quit their day job, like you're talking about how you do construction work still, what do they do for insurance and stuff? Like, do they just set up their own?
That's a good question.
I was working construction for myself, so I haven't had insurance since I've been an adult.
That'll do it.
Yeah,
because like, for instance, I know there's this one YouTuber that I follow. He's a Minecraft creator, and in a recent podcast, he talked about how he actually set up an LLC for his YouTube channel, and he pays himself a wage, and he does his benefits through the LLC and everything like that. So
there's that. I tell you, insurance is a scam. I hate it so much because one, you don't need it through work. And I'm telling you, if you do get it through work, it might not be as good as you can get it in the open marketplace. It used to be ehealthinsurance.com before they became the federal marketplace. So I don't know if eHealth Insurance is there, but you can go buy your own policy for okay rates on your own, no matter who you are, as long as you're making money and you have it to spend.
Right.
But also,
and I think that's part of what you're where the disconnect is with what you're saying is the level or the size that you're thinking of. There's a certain point where the numbers click, and it's kind of a no-brainer. Your standard job versus what you're doing that you enjoy, and it's surprising how fast. So it took every bit of a year and a half, 2 years to get to 50,000 followers. It took another year to get to about 130,000 followers. And then between November and December of last year, I went from 500,000 followers to over 1 million followers. Like, the growth is very exponential.
Yeah, that exponential curve.
Right. Facebook, I was 7,000 followers a couple months ago, which that's different because I'm already, bigger on another platform. I've got a lot of audience that comes over that way. But the initial growth, it was a lot of work to start off with. And then all of a sudden there was a boom.
And you still not getting insurance. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was never insured. I wing it.
And being in construction, I imagine you found this out, but from the medical field, I can tell you for sure, you do not get turned away from the ER if you need help.
Right.
You could go and
right. My
they will bill
was
you.
Done for free.
Yeah.
Okay, it wasn't for free. I'm still paying for it now.
Yeah, they took care of it.
Right.
Yeah. But that's the key word,
They're
paying for it. Right?
right.
Yeah,
They're
you just do it over
legally
time.
obligated to do it. Right. Because it was like $36,000 for a 30-minute surgery and me staying at the hospital overnight. And so yeah, I'm still paying for it.
And it was a life-saving thing, and that's some of the key kid stuff. There's ways to do it, but there are definitely people who could use insurance in this world. But it's much like college attendees. Not everybody needs to go to college, and colleges could be more specific, and I think insurance could be the same way. But it's a very good question to ask, Joseph, because there are people out there who perform.
It's a scary one.
Yeah.
It's my 18-year-old, he's got type 1 diabetes. And then my 13-year-old, he's got congenital scoliosis. So like my 18-year-old, his yearly supplies is between $35,000 and $40,000 to keep his body running, to keep him alive. He's getting to the point at 19, he cannot be on the children's Medicaid program anymore. And so at that point, you got to figure it out. And then my 13-year-old, we're hoping his insurance lasts until his surgery that he's got coming up, because it's going to be massive. Otherwise, I've got to start searching really hard. So yeah, it's definitely a scary thing being a parent out there, because sometimes some stuff goes down, and it's expensive. Yes, medical prices are asinine. We have the highest cost of medical services in the U.S. and the lowest life expectancy for any first world country. We're winning.
I would have been surprised.
Winning.
I would not have been surprised in that moment if he goes, "Oh yeah, besides being a youth pastor's kid, I was also a doctor before I was in construction." That would not have shocked me at all.
I was a network administrator. Network administrator for an ISP.
You gave that up for construction. You must love working with your hands, because that's
it was where the money was. So I'm in Joplin, Missouri, the Midwest. I was working about one of the only, other than the Geek Squad, there's not a lot of opportunity here unless I was wanting to move. And we had opportunities coming to us with the construction. We've been doing it since, I've been doing it since I was like 14 with my dad. And so, we've got 30 some employees. Well, not employees, or subcontractors. But my dad's doing great with his company. And so that's where the money was. The network administration is not where it was. And I was getting fat sitting at a desk. So wish I was getting fat doing construction too. So.
All right. Wait till you beat me. I hate you. He tells about, he jokes around about, putting on weight with the snacks at the midnight. It's like, no, man, you're minuscule.
I had weight loss surgery. I was 340 pounds at 5'5".
That was okay. All right.
Yeah, I was a ball. I was bigger this way than this way. You guys are seeing me 130 pounds different here.
That's a lot. That's a whole human being right there.
Yeah, that's like almost 3 50-pound bags of dog food. My knees love me now.
But a side little stream for you along the StonerGump lines. Gump voice, which I heard you do early on. You do that. Do your Gump voice explaining basic sysadmin and networking for dummies. That I would love to see it.
That's what I was doing. So when I was a network administrator, it's when high-speed internet was coming. It was when it was taking over. So my portion of the company, I had about 6,000 dial-up clients. So mainly elderly individuals with dial-up, and that's what I did day in and day out, was talking to them through.
I need that video skip from you.
What video?
You talking to the old person trying to explain how to do dial-up as Stone is. Yeah. What video?
I had a deaf couple come in at one point. So anytime I would talk to them on the phone, there was, an in-between. I don't know how that worked, but they would call me. The in-between would, I guess it was a video kind of service or something. They got pissed off enough that they came into the shop and they cussed me out on sticky pads. They would write notes and just stick it in my face, and they throw it down. They'd write the next note and stick it in my face.
Oh, that's funny.
It was something.
That's
Cussed out by somebody that couldn't talk.